Happy Nindie New Year, citizens! I'm Jeff. This is Nindie Nation episode 97, and I've missed you during our week off. If this is your first time here, welcome to your one-stop weekly shop for everything independently developed for the Nintendo Switch. We've got a great show for you this week as we kick off the new year by looking at every new release from January 1st through the 9th. And after that, we'll check out the best eShop deals around so that you can find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced. If you haven't been by the Nindie Nation YouTube channel recently, we've just kicked off our 5-part series looking at 20 of the best indie releases of 2020, so go check it out and give us all the likes and that kind of stuff too. New episodes of Nindie Nation post on Tuesdays, and the audio feed is hosted with help from our friends at the Nintendo Village. On Fridays, we publish a quick pre-weekend deals roundup, and Thursdays are reserved for the Nindies at Night livestream. That's a lot to keep track of, though, so if you want to chat about Nindies or just keep track of our schedule, follow us on Twitter at Nindie Nation. We usually start the show by looking at the titles which slipped through the cracks since our last episode, but we took last week off and frankly, there just weren't enough new releases to justify an entire episode anyways. However, to light the fires under the first Nindie Nation of 2021, I've handpicked a few games that might be worth checking out, so here are the 5 notable Nindies which released since episode 96. First up is a title that almost doesn't sound real, but it absolutely is, and it's the digital adaptation of an award-winning tabletop game called Wingspan, which launched for $17.99. It's a relaxing, card-based strategy game for up to 5 players that is themed around birds. You have a limited amount of turns and must build up nature preserves to become more effective at laying eggs. Indie games, am I right? Strip away all the bird stuff and it looks like a totally competent and fun card game. It's developed by Monster Couch, who's released Die for Valhalla among some other solid indies, and sits comfortably in the Venn diagram of people who like card games and birds. Another release that sits within a unique and interesting category is Cave Digger. I think the easiest way to boil it down is that it seems kinda like a first-person SteamWorld dig. You're in an alternate western mine town and split your time between digging further into the mine, developing your town, and unraveling the mysterious higher power that has some sort of control over the town itself. I don't think we've seen much else from the developer Makiwi, but Cave Digger certainly looks interesting and is available now for $14.90. And the award for the first Nindie trifecta of 2021 goes to none other than Dungeon Limbus by Gaiman and is published by Trues! Ladies and gentlemen, we've got pixel art, we've got top-down tile-based maps, we've got a mysterious blacksmith that lives between the living and the dead, and we've got a surprisingly high amount of impact one run can have on future attempts to complete said dungeon. But above all else, for $14.99, we've got procedurally generated dungeons, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements! Here's something completely different. On its own, it isn't a game, but the Fuse Player has released for 99 cents and lets non-developers play indie titles developed within the Fuse coding app. For $1, you get 20 little games included, all of them very rudimentary, but especially interesting if you enjoy browsing sites like itch.io and the like just to see what other people are making. Going forward, you'll have the player ready and can enter codes shared from developers, or just browse for games in the app itself. If you've ever been interested in making your own indie games, seeing what others have come up with inside of the Fuse platform might be a great way to start. Then our last release since late December that might be worth taking a look at,
told you it's been slim pickings,
is Void Source, a shmup that scrolls in all directions, developed by Void Source team and published by Turnox. This is a very simple shmup that looks like it's probably the team's first game, but it has a couple of neat ideas with how it changes directions and allows you to combine power-ups. It's $6 and there's definitely better shooters out there for the price, but it might be worth adding to your wishlist for a future sale. What do you think? Anything here tickle your fancy? I'll be picking up the Fuse Player just because I like checking out the most indie of indie games, and I'm somewhat interested in Dungeon Dingus or whatever it's called. But let me know what you're picking up, and let's close the door on 2020 as we look forward to the next year of indies on the Switch. I think the eShop still has a hangover from partying too hard with Ryan Seacrest, because there's not a whole lot coming out this week, even though I've extended our regular show to cover the first 9 days of the year. Interestingly enough, there were 2 games I wanted to cover as neglected Nindies that, just like Grindstone a couple weeks back, mysteriously went into a TBD release date just before time of recording. That often signals an imminent Indie World presentation, but we just had one, so I'd be surprised if we got another one this quick, but, you know, I'm saying it just in case. Anyways, here are the 9 new indies releasing on the eShop from January 1st through the 9th. If you're in the mood to throw a bunch of bumper stickers on a pickup and drive around in the mud, then Speed Truck Racing is just the game for you. Featuring a ton of branded advertisements with slight letter flips to avoid copyright infringement, you'll drive in circles in the mud, drive in circles on the pavement, and there's one screenshot that looks like a horse race. So there's that. Now, I've already provided more details than the eShop description itself provided by publisher Super Power Up Games, so I'll just leave this release by saying your $7 is probably better spent elsewhere. Hook Games kicked off the year by dropping another game about a square with a bunch of numbers on it, and this time there are green and red circles, so wrap it up, boys, Game of the Year right here. Pack it all in because Hattori Logic includes more of these puzzles they release every single week, and I still have no clue what the hell these games are, but they all look the same. You too can stare at a square full of single-digit numbers for $2.49, but come on, you know? Tin Man Games releases another title in their text-based Choose Your Own Adventure series, this one called Choices That Matter,
and their souls were eaten.
Holy sh*, that's ominous. Let's see what they have to say about the game.
You have a gift. With your gift, the dead are never truly gone. But what if there is a dark side to your gift? And their souls were eaten. Travel across a steampunk 1830s Europe where metal is magical, giving power to those who wear it. Uncover the plot to destroy all life and fight against time to stop your enemy from destroying everything you hold dear.
Damn, that's a pretty epic sounding story. If you want to see how much your choices matter, check it out on January 6th for $4.79. I'm gonna have to remind myself to find some really epic music to play along with that description. Also on the 6th, USP Game Dev and Pineapple Works released Charge Kid for $2.49. It's a challenging platformer with minimalistic pixel art and looks heavily inspired by Super Meat Boy. It looks like there's a lot of wall jumping and you have some sort of weapon that you can shoot that I think you can then teleport to as well, which would then be similar to Daggerhood. I still haven't played Super Meat Boy forever. I need to do that on stream, or at least when the kids are back in school. Anyways, we've got more tabletop-inspired games this week, as Different Tales and Walkabout Games kicks off the first big Thursday drop of 2021 with Werewolf the Apocalypse: Heart of the Forest for $13.49. It's based off the tabletop game of the same name, and is another heavy narrative, choose-your-own-path game with multiple endings and some pretty sweet artwork. They did a good job capturing the art of the IRL game from what I can see at least. It's only a single-player outing, but you can download a demo right now to see if you can escape from becoming a werewolf. Just a couple weeks ago, we saw the release of the spooky black and white platformer that blended 2D and 3D elements called Shady Part of Me. Well, this week we get Iris Fell by PM Studios, which carries almost the exact same description, but with more point-and-click adventure elements. Also, if you thought the previous game was spooky, now they've got little porcelain doll-looking girls, mannequins, and freaky children's dream sequences. It does look pretty neat, and the production is great for $20, but personally, not for me. StarDash, the next in a line of well-regarded releases by publisher Orange Pixel, however, is absolutely for me. Coming in on January 7th for $9.99, StarDash is a challenging, retro side-scrolling platformer. It appears to contain a ton of levels, with hidden stages and flipped B-sides if you can find them, and the gameplay looks quick, simple, and responsive. It also boasts that immediate retry style that is so crucial to games like this. There's not many new indie games releasing this week, but for Nindie Nation episode 97, StarDash is our pick of the week. If you're feeling burnout by the recent release of Cyberpunk 2077, or maybe you just want more of that sort of world, East Asia Soft might have just the thing for you this week when they release Sense, a Cyberpunk ghost story for $19.99. With environments that you'd expect to see in this type of setting, Sense plays out as a side-scrolling adventure game with occasional mini-games, but what makes Sense different is its slant towards psychological horror. You hunt down all kinds of freaky ghosts and demons attempting to exorcise the evil within, and do it all within a very anime-inspired story. There is something weird about the visual aesthetic that kind of rubs me the wrong way though, with the characters and backgrounds not really seeming to be an artistic match. But other than that, the game does have a bunch of additional content, including a new game plus and plenty of sci-fi psychological horror stuff to keep you busy until that other Cyberpunk game starts working. Hold on. Quick post-recording note that apparently this game and the developer Top Hat Studios has gotten into some hot water over this game. I actually meant to comment on how weird it was that the protagonist was just ridiculously, endowed? I think I'm just kinda numb to it from covering all of the D3 publisher games or something. I guess Sense has some violence towards women and lots of big-breasted whoosy-whatsits. Personally, we see crap like this every week covering everything from A to Z. Oh my god, what is this game? Maybe this one is worse than others, I don't know, but buyer beware, I guess? Okay, let's move on. Super Moose, what the mother is this? Wrapping up our shortest release week ever is Ultimate Games, who ran up to Nindie Nation's door, rang the doorbell, and left a flaming paper bag full of dog right there on the doorstep. I opened the door, stomped out the flames, and to my surprise, when I looked at the bottom of my shoe, it was covered in Super Moose. Trust me, nobody looked at this game and said,
"Oh yeah, let's put our seal of approval on this. Ship it."
Yet here I am scraping this, third-person game off of my shoes anyways. You play as a moose who looks like what happens to Mr. Potato Head after spending a few minutes with my preschooler going ape on it, and, you know what? This game is probably still sitting in the PS2 shovelware bin at your local EB Games. $7.99? Really, Ultimate Games? Really? So yeah, short list this week. StarDash is my pick, but Charge Kid looks fun too. Werewolf is probably a great pick for anyone who's into the tabletop version or similar games, and if you're into the spookies, you've got Cyberpunk and Irisfell, both of which look like they're worth considering. But let me know what you think in the YouTube comments or on Twitter at Nindie Nation. I hope you enjoyed the 5 highest rated indies on sale video we published last week, and if there was something there on your wish list that you had a chance to pick it up before the sale expired. Either way, I'm happy to say that we've got a great week of deals lined up for you, and since the first half of today's show was so short, we're featuring a bunch of deals this week. So without further ado, with 292 games currently on sale at ye olde eShop, here are our picks for the 21 best deals currently available through at least January 9th. We're going to dive into some bundles and publisher sales, but before we do that, let me get this out of the way. While I've mentioned this game multiple times this year, I want you to know that Towaga Among Shadows just got a massive discount and is one of the titles prominently featured as part of our Best Indies of 2020 series, so I absolutely think you should buy it. Towaga is a twin-stick shooter of sorts, but most of the time you're stationary, so you just worry about aiming your arms and blasting away waves of incoming enemies. It's super fun, it looks gorgeous, it has a ton of replay value, and right now, it is discounted by 85% for only $2.24. At that price, I recommend Towaga Among Shadows to pretty much anyone. Now, onto some sales focused on series or developers specifically. Atui is one of the original Nindie developers dating all the way back to the DSi with their support for the smaller independent games on Nintendo platforms, and all of their games are super cheap this week. Mutant Mudds is what they're best known for, and it's a challenging platformer with wonderful level design, bright, colorful pixel art, and a cool perspective-shifting mechanic. Right now, you can get all 3 entries in the Mutant Mudds series as part of the Mutant Mudds collection, while it's 80% off for $2.99. Xeodrifter, however, is my favorite Atui game, and it's a must for Metroid fans, as it's basically a different take on that formula in a game that'll take you about 3 hours to complete. You'll bounce around between 4 different planets, fighting enemies and earning power-ups, and I like it so much, I even own a Xeodrifter t-shirt. Right now, this bite-sized Metroid-like is also 80% off for just $1.99. And if you like arcade-style sports games, Soccer Slammers is also right now on sale for $1.99 and uses the voxel art style to recreate soccer but in a simplified arcadey format, and is also a lot of fun. Another title I feel compelled to remind you of every time it's on sale is the Bleed Complete bundle, which includes the original Bleed and its sequel for $4.19, an 85% discount. These are fast-paced, combo-driven action games that have you jumping and dashing around the screen while dodging enemy projectiles and shooting everything in sight. Each game is only about an hour or 2 long, but they're both different enough to warrant a playthrough, and there's a bunch of unlockables that really change up the action to stretch out the replay value of both games by quite a bit. I highly recommend this bundle. Speaking of bundles, the Anti-Hero bundle was featured on our Friday afternoon deals video last month, and of every game we've ever covered, this bundle is one of the few that I've heard the most feedback from all of you citizens. So if you haven't picked it up, know that your fellow citizens highly recommend it. For $6.14, an 85% discount, you get Under Hero, a wonderful side-scrolling action RPG with a turn-based battle system that is very active, akin to something like Paper Mario. It includes a charming and frequently funny story about a bad guy turned good, and delivers everything else you'd expect from a well-fleshed-out RPG. Nefarious is another game about being the bad guy that plays out mostly as an action platformer, but dabbles really in all types of genres. I don't like this one quite as much as Under Hero, but you won't get bored with it because of how much it changes up the gameplay, and that plus the witty story arc make it worth checking out alone as part of the bundle. And then there's Reverse Crawl, a fast-paced, turn-based strategy RPG where you're protecting your dungeon from those pesky heroes that keep trying to steal your loot. It's from the creator of Vertical Drop Heroes, one of my favorite little indie gems, and it maintains the same flash game visual style, but underneath, you'll find a very deep and customizable card-based battle system and near infinite replayability. You get all 3 of these titles for just over $6, and again, this bundle has been one of the best received from other listeners or viewers of Nindie Nation. Digerati has another great bundle on sale, this one 85% off for $6.89, that is all focused on couch co-op action, even though I played 3 of the 4 games here solo. The couch co-op bundle features Bleed, which I've already mentioned my love for, Shikondo, a super hard bullet hell shooter, and then 2 other games which share a lot in common. Vertical Drop Heroes, which I just mentioned I love, is a vertically scrolling hack and slash, and Black Paradox, which is a side-scrolling shooter. But what do these games have in common, you ask? Well, both Vertical Drop Heroes and Black Paradox just happen to be Nindie trifectas, as they include procedurally generated levels, rogue-like mechanics, and RPG elements! Seriously though, this bundle for $6.89 is a hell of a deal. I got over 20 hours out of Vertical Drop Heroes and over 10 out of Black Paradox, the latter of which I still play from time to time well over a year after beating it. If you want to see more of these games, both Vertical Drop Heroes and Black Paradox have Let's Play Nindies over on the Nindie Nation YouTube channel. If you're in the mood for some retro gameplay, 2 games that feel right out of the NES era are back on sale. Oniken is, for all intents and purposes, basically Ninja Gaiden, but with a bit more gunplay, so it's kinda got a little Contra thrown in the mix, and it's a perfectly solid title for $2.49, a 75% discount. And on the flip side, if you want your retro action platforming a bit more methodical, Odalis The Dark Call is also 75% off, this one for $2.99, and plays like a Castlevania game, but with a bit more upgrading and RPG elements. Both are wonderful and frequently on sale in a bundle for the same price, but for some reason that bundle's not on sale this week, so you get to pick one or the other or both. Have you ever been in a situation where you're moving, packing, or unpacking, and you're thinking to yourself,
Hey, this feels like real-life Tetris.
if so, you'll get a kick out of Packmaster, which basically takes the same premise of fitting shapes together, but does so as you're packing suitcases. It sounds simple, and while it starts out as such, it quickly gets chaotic and is very, very fun if you love feeling like you've mastered the art of efficient organization. Packmaster is currently 60% off for $1.99. How about dogs? Woodland creatures? What about steampunk? You like those things? What about Final Fantasy Tactics? You like that or other grid-based strategy RPGs? If any combination of those things are appealing to you, Steam Tactics combines all of them into what has to be a love letter to PS1-era games of the same type. And right now, Steam Tactics is 40% off for $5.99. Earlier this year, we saw the release of Seconoid, a 1-bit twin-stick shooter that reminded me a lot of Gato Roboto, but instead of a cat and a mech, you're a little spaceship flying around between stages Metroidvania style. I loved the simplistic mechanics that built at just the right pace, but my only complaint was that the game was $20. Well, guess what? Right now, Seconoid is 90 whopping percentage points off and is just $1.99. If you like what you're seeing here, absolutely give Seconoid a shot. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Next up is a title that is a bit divisive, but I really enjoyed it when it released last summer. In fact, it'd probably be a really good game to do a Let's Play on, because seeing it in action really does tell you if it'll vibe with you or not. Clan Inn is an alternate history samurai game that plays out as a top-down, kind of a brawler, but also kind of a Diablo-like, depending on which character you play as. When I played it, it reminded me of a top-down take on games like Castle Crashers. I'll warn you that at the time, it did have some bugs. Some of them were pretty bad too, but I've heard that those have since been mostly ironed out. Look into this one for yourself before pulling the trigger because it is a bit pricier even when it's half off for $7.49, but know that I really liked it and I think that most people who dig this type of game will really like the unique take on a superhuman samurai squad. Isn't that a TV show from the 90s? Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad? Is that what the show was? Was that a show?
Superhuman Samurai. Superhuman Samurai.
Hey, do you like Where's Waldo? Do you have a kid who loves those look and find books? If so, consider adding Hidden Through Time to your Switch library. It's one of the highest rated titles on today's list, probably because it features a charming storybook art style, is immediately accessible, and features a custom level editor. Other than that, it claims to basically be a Where's Waldo video game, and it does so just about as well as you can hope. And right now, Hidden Through Time is 40% off for $4.79. And finally this week, 2 titles with deals that actually expire 1 day early on January 8th are Guns, Gore, and Cannoli 1 and 2, which are both 40% off for $5.99 and $7.79 respectively. These games are some of my favorite run-and-gun action titles on the Switch and take place in the mob-ridden world of the Roaring '20s. They feature beautiful hand-drawn artwork and are loaded with tongue-in-cheek humor that will keep you laughing throughout the entirety of each 3 to 5 hour game. If you want some fun but challenging action that'll put a smile on your face, check these 2 out. Boom! How's that for a bunch of Nindies? Good luck with those backlogs. Lots of great games out there for just a couple bucks, so let me know what stands out to you and if you want to see any of these during this week's Nindies at Night. Speaking of which, it's promo time, so go ahead, all of you 70%ers who just skipped to the end. Just go ahead. Leave. I won't be upset. Go on. I'm waiting. See you next week. Now, for all of my favorite people who stuck around, Nindies at Night is our live stream featuring all kinds of indies every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Nindie Nation YouTube channel, and on Fridays we have our quick eShop deals roundup to get your weekend started off on the right foot. New episodes of Nindie Nation post to the YouTube channel on Tuesday, as well as on podcast feeds hosted by our friends at the Nintendo Village. Go check them out for daily articles, reviews, features, and even more great content covering everything Nintendo. You can find everything they make all in one place at thenintendovillage.com. Also, Part 1 is up for our Best of 2020 feature covering retro-inspired games, and the next episode will feature 4 of our favorite worlds to explore from the past year. Please check them out, like, share, all that stuff, and let me know if the videos convince you to check out one of those games. Otherwise, that's it for this week's first Nindie Nation of 2021. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I know I did. Starting next week, things pick back up again, and there's a lot to look forward to later this month. I know I'm especially excited for Cyber Shadow, which I think we'll cover in episode 99. But that's a couple of weeks out in the future, and we're all done for now. Until next time, citizens, I'm Jeff. This has been Nindie Nation episode 97, and even when there aren't a ton of new games worth checking out, know that Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.